Hi, Martin. Hopefully you can hear me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our planning committee this afternoon, which is being live streamed on YouTube. Before we begin, I would like the Principal Clerk to explain the health and safety arrangements for this meeting.
Thank you, Chair. As you can see, members were all socially distanced within the chamber. If you would like to wear a mask during the course of the meeting, please do so, although it is advisable for you to remove it while speaking. That would apply as well to the members of the public who are joining us when you are speaking at the speakers table. If you wish to remove your mask, you may do so. The windows are open, Chair. If members find it a bit chilly, my apologies, we'll just keep the air flowing.
Thank you. Move on to the first item this afternoon, apologies and absence. I think we've got a full band.
Oh, Chair, we have apologies.
Are there any apologies, Alan?
Yes, Chair. Councillor Armitage is not able to attend and he's substituted by Councillor Ancliffe. And Councillor Ridgway has sent her apologies with no substitute, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Members are requested to declare the existence and, sorry, Roger.
Sorry, yeah, thank you, Chair. Maybe not a declaration of interest, but I would like to state for the record, although I wasn't here in December regarding the Clay Lane application, I would like it to be noted on record that I have watched the video that's on YouTube of the December planning meeting for that application.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 3, minutes of the last meeting. We now have the minutes of a meeting for Tuesday, the 14th of December, 2021. Are we happy that they are a correct record? Thank you. Are there a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. The main business. As you can see, we have 5 main items to consider. Each of these has its own report, and I am happy that we take them in that order. The last of these, the report of Section 106 agreement debt, will be taken as an exempt item. The live stream of the meeting will be stopped at that point, and any public will be asked to leave the room. Thank you. The first application this afternoon is NED/21/00627/FL Clay Lane. I've got quite a bit to read out on this, so please bear with me. Variation of condition 2, approved plans to allow for changes to the road alignment and plot positions. It's a major development at land opposite 24 to 44 Clay Lane, Claycross. Now, as we all know, this application was deferred at our last meeting. Committee did, after an extensive discussion, the purpose of the deferral was for further information to be obtained in order to clarify the flood risk to the site and what impact the proposed minor changes would have on this. The planning officers have had a meeting with the applicant and their agent just before Christmas. They explained the committee's concerns and also the additional information what had been requested. The agent produced a briefing note following on from this meeting. This note has been circulated to members and it has also been placed on the council's website. I don't intend to go through the note in detail. However, the bottom line is that the applicant and agent have not provided us with any additional information, and they are not obliged to do so. And they do not think that it would be necessary in order to deal with this sort of minor application. And in fairness, that is also the view of our officers who have produced a report which sets out the information that we actually need to take a decision on. So what does this mean for us? Quite simply, there is no further information for members to consider from what we've had last time. Consequently, there is no reason why the committee should not now consider and determine the application. And that's what I hope we can do today. Finally, members, I think it is important that we all keep in mind that this is this application for minor variations to the road layout and plot positions, which we have been asked to consider, not the development as a whole. That's been passed, so we need to stick to the task in hand. But before we get started, is there anything that the planning and legal officers would like to add?
Not at this stage, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I would now like the clerk. Oh, it's only- Phil, do you need to say anything at this stage?
No, Chair. The late reps were circulated, so there's nothing further to the late reps.
Thank you. Okay, I would like the clerk to explain how we will now deal with the application.
Thank you, Chair. This is the procedure for considering the application today. The committee will resume from the point where it left off on the 14th of December, when the Chair had opened the floor to motions. A motion must be moved and seconded before a vote is taken. If an amendment to a motion is moved and seconded, then that amendment will be voted on first. As members will recall, a motion to agree officer recommendations and approve the application was put to the committee at its December meeting, but was rejected. Please note that if members now wish to agree the original officer recommendations, then committee will first need to suspend Council Procedure Rule 13.2, which prevents a motion or an amendment moved within the past 6 months from being moved again. At least half of the members present will have to agree to the suspension of Council Rule Procedure 13.2 for it to be approved by the committee. If a motion is to be moved, which goes against the officer recommendations, then the member who has moved the motion must give the reasons for doing so. The reasons for moving a motion against officer recommendations should comprise the relevant planning issues and be supported by the evidence as necessary. If a motion to reject officer recommendations falls, or in other words, it is not passed, that doesn't mean that the recommendations are automatically approved. Rather, you would need to take a positive decision through a further motion in favour of the recommendations or another course of action. This would need to be agreed by the committee through another vote. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. This is the point of the meeting at which I would normally open up the floor for motions to determine an application. However, on this occasion, I think that we should first address the issue which the clerk has raised about the procedural rule preventing a motion to approve officers' recommendations from being removed. In order to do this, I'm going to propose that we now agree to suspend Council Procedure Rule 13.2. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. We have a motion to suspend Council Procedures 13.2. We will now take a vote on this by roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Members, if you could clearly say for, against or abstain. Councillor Ancliffe. For. Councillor Cooper.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hartshorn.
For.
Councillor Jones. Councillor Liggett. For. Councillor Powell.
For.
Councillor Rouse.
For.
And Councillor Ruff.
For.
It's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. I would now like the clerk to inform us of the outcome, which is a unanimous. Now, having heard and read everything both from today and the meeting in December, what is the view of the committee on this application? I'm now opening the floor for motions and I propose that we move this application.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll now ask to vote as explained earlier.
Sorry, Chair, was that Councillor Ancliffe who seconded?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could clearly say for, against or abstain. Councillor Ancliffe.
For.
Councillor Cooper.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
Against.
Councillor Hartshorn.
Abstain.
Councillor Jones.
Abstain.
Councillor Liggett.
For.
Councillor Powell. Councillor Rouse.
Abstain.
Councillor Ruff.
For.
That's 8 votes for, 1 against with 3 abstentions, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And let's move now on to the next second application, which is NED/21/01028 at Wingerworth. This is demolition of an existing building and erection of a new house at Hockley House, Hockley Lane, Wingerworth. In line with our normal practice, I'm going to ask the planning manager and officers to tell us about any late comments reports that have been produced and to give a brief presentation showing any photos and plans of the site. I will allow the officers to complete the presentation. Consequently, members could please reserve any points of order or questions about the process until the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just in opening, I'd like to report to members a late representation that was received at 9 o'clock last night from a Mr. Cole, who's objected to the application, Chair, on 2 parts. Firstly, that the house appears on a map of 1758 built by the Hunlocks of Wingerworth Hall. The house is stone and slate built. It was then home to the Maidens and then used as a market garden, with the house then left to the NHS. And Chair, there were also attempts to keep Hockley Lane as rural as possible when the recently completed Hockley Rise development took place, with houses set back from the lane. The new house looks to be located forward of the present house, with a place with other historic properties on Hockley Lane. Mr. Cole is aware that Hockley House has structural problems, and he suggests that the new house is built in the same style as Hockley House, including the extensions permitted, meaning the site history is respected and the developer gets his house. Just on that point, Chair, briefly, the issue of heritage and associated matters is discussed in the officer report, and the officer view on the design of the new house is also assessed in that report. Just in terms of the detailing, Chair, the application seeks consent to demolish the existing building and erect a new house at the site, and the various material matters, Chair, are set out in the officer report. Just as a reprise of yesterday's site visit, Chair, the application site set out in the centre of the slide here, with the Hockley Lane running here. As you'll see in a second, the area surrounding the property constructed and built out a number of residential properties. Also referred to in the report, Chair, is this dwelling here, which sits opposite the site. This range of agricultural buildings and with associated uses also sitting opposite the site. The existing building you can just make out in the centre of the hexagon there. In terms of the detailing, Chair, apologies, the application site comprises a single plot. As I say, the area around has now been constructed with new houses, properties opposite, range of agricultural buildings, and the dwelling house here. And this slide, Chair, shows the application site, which is this element of the slide here. The area around, as we saw at the site visit yesterday, Chair, is now built upon by new dwelling houses, and Hockley Lane runs to the east and the northeast. In terms of the detailing of the new dwelling house, Chair, this is the floor plans and the elevational detailings. The elevation to Hockley Lane is this unit here. It's referred to in the report, with the various other elevations as we saw yesterday at site visits. And just for completeness, Chair, this is the scheme that had consent granted for it for extensions to main house. This is the main house in the white with the extensions, the stippled elements added to it. So that has consent, Chair, and as reported in the officer report. And that's the floor plans of the approved scheme for the extensions. And then finally, Chair, just a slide to remind members of what we saw yesterday on site visits. This is the property that would be demolished and rebuilt. And you can just see on this slide the various elements of that which have been removed in preparation for the works that would have facilitated initially the extensions, but which have subsequently led to the application that's before you this afternoon. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I believe we have one speaker this afternoon. If you'd like to take the seat and state your name, thank you. When you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Jones from Stancliffe Homes. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address the committee this afternoon. The application before you seeks planning approval to demolish Hockley House and build a new 2-storey house with a double garage. For the avoidance of doubt, I can confirm that it was the original intention of Stancliffe Homes to retain Hockley House. And to that end, we engaged architects and engineers to produce a detailed design to extend the building to form a 5-bedroom house with a double garage. Plans were submitted to your authority, which received planning approval in February 2021. Preliminary works started in spring last year, which involved the demolition of the rear 2-storey extension and a small single-storey outbuilding. We've also completed the construction of the natural stone boundary screen wall between Hockley House and our Hockley Rise development in accordance with the approved plans for that development. During the preparatory works, we discovered that Hockley House has no foundations at all and is in fact built straight off the clay subsoil just below ground level. This has had a major impact on our plans since the entire building needs underpinning to all the external and internal walls to ensure its structural stability, and the cost of this is prohibitive. We're therefore seeking planning permission to replace Hockley House with a new home and submitted a planning application in August 2021, which locates the new house largely on the footprint of Hockley House and presents strong active frontages to both Hockley Lane and Hockley Rise. The new home will be built in coursed natural stone with stone heads and sills and will retain the existing boundary wall for the full length of Hockley Lane frontage using reclaimed stone material. I note that in a report to this committee that the planning officer confirms that Hockley House is neither listed within a conservation area or scheduled as a heritage asset, and that the county archaeologist raises no objections to our proposals. She also confirms that the proposal accords with all your authority's relevant planning policies. Stancliffe Homes has always endeavoured to work professionally and responsibly and to engage with your officers in a positive and constructive manner as possible. We also aim to build our homes to a high standard and take the responsibility for everything that we do very seriously. We've put a great deal of thought and effort into the proposal before you.
30 seconds remain.
And I can confirm that should you resolve to grant planning permission, it's our intention to commence and complete the construction of the new home without delay. I therefore respectfully request that you support your officer's recommendation and grant planning approval for this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Elliott?
Are you using all the stone that you take from the building?
Councillor Elliott, could you use your microphone?
Certainly can. I'm not loud enough, Councillor. Could you tell us, are you using all the same stone from the building you knocked down, or are you bringing it from somewhere else?
It is a combination of the two. If you have visited the property, you'll see that there's a mishmash of materials there. And so we have some stone that's capable of being reused, but you may have also seen on site that there are pallets of stone which we've brought in, which we've actually had tinted so that it will match the colour of the existing stone. So it's a mixture of two.
Congratulations on the rest of the site as well. It looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Councillor Hall?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm not a builder, but I am aware that buildings have to have foundations. So what the question I was going to ask is, you've told us about your proposals and things like that, but the current state or standard of the building then, I guess, as it is at the moment, is totally unsuitable for any use, really. Is that correct?
We have to provide a structural warranty with any properties that we sell. And you will have seen that we have started to strip around the site. And to be quite honest, we were quite taken back with what we found, because basically once we'd stripped the surface off, there's the bottom of the walls. And so we would have to underpin the whole building, both internally and externally, in order for it to be structurally acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that description. With regards to the application you put through in February, which was agreed and went through, would you have not already at that stage, when you put those plans through, know that there were no foundations to the existing building? That's my first. I'll let you answer that first.
No, we didn't. We had assumed that the building would have had adequate foundations. So it was only when we started to remove the ground around the building in readiness for those works that we discovered that there was nothing there.
Right, thank you. And my second question is, have you not done a costing now, how much it would cost to underpin and preserve that building in its current state and use it?
Yeah. Yes, our quantity surveyors have done that, which, as I've said in my report, really renders it not viable for us to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Foster's asked you the question I would have looked at, but that's fine. As you're aware, I'm quite disappointed. I know it's not a listed building, but it is part of Wingleworth's history. And I know quite a lot of residents are very upset that it's going to be demolished if this goes through. I am pleased to see that you're going to try and use some of the original stone in the building. But I do find it quite interesting. We've got quite a few properties of that age across the district that all have no foundations because that's how they were built in that time. I mean, my daughter, for one's got a 300-year-old cottage, hasn't got any foundations. It probably outlived a lot of the new modern buildings. So I do find it interesting that you can't work around that. But I can understand the legal side of that as well. So I am disappointed that, you know, we are where we are. And have you considered the ongoing historic value to the building that you could put back into the village?
In what sense, Chair? Because
it was used as the gardener's cottage, it's part of the estate. Would you sort of put up something to say what it was and its history?
We'd be happy, for example, for there to be an accurate photographic record of the building as it currently stands, and an acknowledgement that that was on site for future record.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Perhaps some form of display on Hockley Lane. Which
because it could actually go into the local library.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. Have we got a proposer or seconder for this, Councillor Elliott?
I'll propose it, Chair.
Thank you. A seconder? Thank you.
Yeah, just before you take the vote, if I may ask if the discussion you just had with Mr. Jones in regard to the recording of the building, would you like anything formally added into any decision to approve the application share to that effect, such as we may otherwise put in with regards to archaeology works? It would just require the record to be taken and lodged with ourselves, and then we could pass it on to the necessary library or whatever, if you would wish that control through the permission. If not, then of course you may proceed otherwise. Just clarification of that, Chair, if I may.
Sorry, Councillor Elliott, we can't hear you.
Must just be you, Alan. I've just said, Alan, for your benefit then again, I wondered whether we can go down the route to getting a blue plaque on it to state what it used to be. I'm not entirely sure whether that's doable, but if we can, that's fine. Other than that, we'll follow what the chair asked for and go down that route.
Okay, yep, we'll go through that route if that's okay with everybody. That we'll go through it through the officers. Yep, everybody happy? Right, we'll go for roll call then. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ancliffe. 4. Councillor Cooper.
4.
Councillor Elliott. 4. Councillor Foster.
4.
Councillor Hall.
Abstain.
Councillor Hancock.
4.
Councillor Hartshorn.
4.
Councillor Jones.
4.
Councillor Liggett.
4.
Councillor Powell. 4. Councillor Rouse.
4.
And Councillor Ruff.
4.
11 for, 0 against, 1 abstention, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going through this quite nicely today. Item 7, planning appeals. I will now call on the planning manager to explain our next report.
There's very little to say in respect to this, Chair, because as members will have seen, there is no reported appeal decisions that came in at the press of writing the report. We have had some since then, but they will be reported in February. But if there are any specific questions on appeals at this point, Chair, I'll happily take them.
Are there any questions for Adrian? No, you've got off lightly again, Adrian. Okay, section 106, item 8 on the agenda. Planning, I'd like the planning manager to explain this to us. I suggest that we let him run through it first, and then I'll open up the floor for questions and discussion. Over to you, Adrian.
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, further to the resolution of Planning Committee in October 2021, Chair, this is the first of the quarterly reports that members have asked to receive on Section 106 agreements. As is customary, we've divided the appendices into 3, and I understand that there has been access through Alan to a larger printed version or an electronic version of Appendix A. So I'm grateful to Alan for organising that.
Yes, that's on members' desks, I think, Chair.
The Appendix A, Chair, does identify where we've received monies, and there is deadlines for spending those, and specifically with regard to the 6 red items there identified in paragraph 1.5. And I hope that gives members the comfort that we are aware of those monies needing to be spent, and we are in the process of, or have indeed in one case, allocated that money for spending in accordance with the legal agreements. Appendix 2, Chair, further to discussions in October, brings up to date the position where we've actually got outstanding monies and we are chasing them, and that does provide an update for members on where we are with those various elements. And Appendix C, Chair, is outstanding 106s where payments aren't yet due. However, and further to the meeting in October, they have been followed up and hopefully brought up to date. I hope that's the case anyway. And you'll see that various letters have then been sent out seeking any payments that are outstanding. So I'm hoping, Chair, that is in accordance with members' wishes of October last year and brings the matters up to date, and specifically in regard to monies that we've received and where they need to be spent, and then in respect of payments that are due and that have not been received, and where we are with those, and particularly what we've done and subsequently. If there are any questions, Chair, as ever, happily take them.
Thank you, Adrian. I've got a couple, and it's obviously I'm looking at the ones for Wingerworth, and I see on page 79 on number 73 Hanging Banks, and it said the first letter was sent in June 21, and the other one is again opposite land opposite Pioneer House. First letter was sent in October 19, and a chase letter was sent in June 21. Have we had any update on that?
Not that I'm aware further to the report, Chair, but I will, if I may, I will follow those up specifically and find out that the position is most up to date and right to you to give you an up to date position on those, if that's okay.
Thank you. I don't want it to slip, so we're faced with any more issues. Thank you. Are there any further questions? Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Adrian, I don't probably expect an answer at this moment, but Foxhall in Pilsley, you're aware there was an outstanding issue there from a meeting we had last February, I believe. We've still not received an answer to that question yet. I know Richard was following it up, but our clerk at Pilsley Parish Council now has asked me to follow this up again. So can we get some clarity on that, please?
Yes, Chair, if I may come back to Councillor Cooper. I've also been contacted by the Parish Council Chair, and I have myself tried to get in touch with the developer to further the matter, move it forwards. and I will, as time goes on over the next few days, I'm hoping, unfortunately, I've not been able to contact the developer yet, but I will keep the relevant members who attended that meeting in February up to date, Chair, as progress, I hope, is made further to the discussions that we had at that meeting and subsequently.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Foster, Councillor Liggett, and then Councillor Hartshorn.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of concerns. One's the Royal Hotel, Eckington. Another is the Ridgeway Craft Centre, Ridgeway. Not that I need an update on the actual works right now. What I'm concerned about here is that on the Royal Hotel, for example, we've got, and this is on page 75 at the bottom, final letters sent, and we've got October. So October last year, and to be referred for further action. So we've got no update from October. Obviously now we're a few months on from that, so that could really do with updating. The whole idea of this report is that it's up to date. So what that's essentially saying to me is that nothing's been done since then. If something has been done since then, it needs to be on this report here. Or we can put nothing's been done since the 27th of October. That's that one, and it's much the same for the Ridgeway Craft Centre. Claim to be issued in the County Court 12th of August. That's the last update I've got there. So just for it to be updated. Thank you, Chair.
Just briefly on that, Chair, if I may, apologies to Councillor Foster and members in respect to the Royal Hotel. I will make sure that's updated certainly for the next time the report is brought, Chair, but I was under the impression that we have made some progress with legal colleagues on that, but I will make sure that's updated when we next report, Chair. In respect to Ridgeway, again, currently that's with colleagues in the council's legal section, Chair. So again, if further clarity is needed, I'll make sure that's done for the next quarterly report that we bring to members.
Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mr. Kirkham. I appreciate that. But to receive the report in another quarter when it's already one's October and one's August, for myself, I'm not happy with that. I'd be happy to receive a report on anything like this at the next planning meeting, obviously with the permission of the chair. And it's not like we're asking an awful lot of work to be done. This same report can be printed out again with those two, and if there's any more, it could be updated. So we could actually have the updates on those two. So it only needs printing out again and adding to the back of the next papers for the next planning meeting. So it's not like we're asking a huge amount of work. It's just that we know what's going on with those two, rather than all waiting for another 3 months.
That's understood, Chair. Just so I can be clear what members would like, would you just like the appendices next time, or would you like just the report with the appendices and necessary updates?
Go for the updates.
Thank you, Chair. However you want to do it, we need the information. The planning committee needs the information. We need to be able to look at this. I've said this before at previous meetings. We need to be able to pick this up and look at it at a glance. Some of this is very difficult. If you look at when these papers were sent out, these original papers, the original agenda, 10th of January, admittedly that's on paper, and only today I've received this this blown up version of it. We need this information before, and however you want to present it, we need it in front of us so we can all understand it and we can all ask questions rather than just asking for updates and same thing over and over. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Adrian, can we have the updates, information of the updates for the next meeting, so they're not rolling over for another 3 months?
Yes, of course, Chair.
All up to date.
Yeah.
We'll deal with next month. Councillor Liggett.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Councillor Foster, to be honest, because it looks like yet again the same. The wool pack, which is the one I brought up, querying why they'd only got to pay £1,948 a month and haven't paid that. It looks like it's still there. Legal team proceed to secure payments outstanding on the 9th of November. So I can't understand why, if money's not coming forward, letters or proceedings aren't going monthly rather than letting things keep going on like this, because it's a little bit annoying.
Okay.
to say the least. And, you know, and it also, on this, it also says half of properties occupied. They've all been occupied for about 2 years.
Okay.
These matters are with my colleagues in the contentious side. I did try to speak to them before this meeting. However, they are extremely short-staffed at the moment, and there was nobody I could speak to get a clarification as to where we are with this. As Adrian says, we'll be able to provide that, to get that clarification for the next meeting. I'm sure there has been progress. It's just not shown on these reports, but you will be provided with the information at the next meeting.
Councillor Hall? Or did you want it? Councillor Hartshorn?
Yeah, Adrian. It's just on, I know it's a county issue, really. It's the Windwhistle Farm developments that's gone up at Grassmore. I'm just wondering why there was contributions for the Five Pits Trail and both have been returned to the developer. We can find out why that is.
I wasn't aware that the monies had been returned to the developer, Chair, but I'll need to consult with County Council colleagues on that. As members are aware, in many of the agreements, monies now is either paid directly to, or discussions take place directly with County Council officers out with the control of the District Council. So I will need to follow that up with County Council officers, Chair. I'm not aware of that particular happening, or what the whys and wherefores of that. I will find out from the County Council why that's actually taking place.
Adrian, thanks.
Are there any further questions or missed anybody? No, thank you. Can I ask that if we are prepared to accept the report as is? Yep. Okay, thank you. Yep. Okay. I just need a show of hands on this. Yay. Okay, thank you, Nikki. So, pleased to hear I have no matters of urgency. So we'll move on to item 10, which is the exclusion of public. Public will be excluded from the meeting during this discussion of the following item of business to avoid the disclosure to them of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972.